Hello again, and welcome to the program. I am Suren. If you want a better tomorrow, start it now. For now is all you have got. Be grateful for every second you get spent with people you love. Life is so precious. Here is a recipe for longevity. Live simply, care deeply, love generously, love as much as you breathe, live and love as long as you are. Life is just like a painting. Draw the lines with hope, erase the errors with tolerance, brush it with lots of patience, and color it with love. Life is like a song. You can make it happy, and your audience will love you forever. Another day, another blessing, and another chance at life. Take nothing for granted and think of every breath as a gift. When you learn to depend on yourself, you will be happier in life. Therefore, love yourself. Love is the key, no matter what happens in life. Love always survives. Expect nothing. Appreciate everything. Your personal power, not the ability to control other people's behavior, it is the ability to remain unaffected by their behavior from personal experience. Our physical existence is a gift from the divine, if you like. All we can do is accept, love, and cherish the inner child. I have always loved butterflies because they remind me that it is never too late to transform ourselves. We can design our own lives. Nobody else can do it for us. Don't expect everything in life. Expectation can hurt a lot. When you don't expect, every moment is a surprise. And surprise brings happiness. When all seems dark and dreary, create your own sun to shine. Be happy. There are people you should just get rid of from associating. Those who spread negativity. Those who would advise you all the time. Those who waste your time. Those who are jealous. Those who play the victim. Those who don't care. Those who are self-centered. those who keep disappointing you. It's better not to waste words either. And some people who deserve only your silence. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Regret nothing, and all will be good. Ne rien ne regretter, et tout le bien. Your motives today determines your tomorrows. Smile, be happy, and the world becomes your friend. Good friends, real good friends, accept one another. They don't advise them how to live their lives. Judgmental friends forever advise you with words describing only themselves. If we could only stick to the known facts and truthfulness without assumptions, we would be living in a paradise world. Remember, whatever one shouts, be it beauty and wholeness or not desirable things, will echo back to us. Be kindly to everything. Kindness will find you. Life is an echo. Everything we do comes back to us. Have a wonderful day. Be strong enough to stand alone, smart enough to know when you need help, and be brave enough to ask for it. Believe in yourself, and everything is possible. Love cures people, both the ones who give it and the ones who receive it. There are no words and no wounds that never show on the body, that are deeper and more hurtful than anything that bleeds. Getting better from depression demands a lifelong commitment. I have made that commitment for my life's sake and for the sake of those who love me. Somehow, our devils are never quiet about what we expect when we meet them face to face. The best and the most beneficial things in the world cannot be seen or even touched. They must be felt with the heart. Friendship is the hardest thing in the world to explain. It's not something you learn in school. But if you haven't learned the meaning of friendship, you really haven't learned anything. The road to success and the road to failure are almost exactly the same. Imagine a world where people do not lose their truths and only assumptions about each other and everything else. This is where one will find wisdom and peace. There are people who listen not what is said, but what is assumed. And their assumptions beget more assumptions, leading them not to the real truth. Taking advantage of anybody and hurting them in the process leads to failure. Helping others without a thought of profit creates a better and happier tomorrows. Change yourself and your thoughts for the better, and the whole world will change for the better. A secret of truth never relies on assumptions of others. And when one assumes to know the truth, know not what it truly is. You don't need to seek or search for it. It will find you. True friends never question your integrity. Life is not about the people who act true to your face. It is about the people who remain true behind your back. There are people, to be frank with you, who prefer to control others because it seems to give them the sense of power. There are two conditions in here which we can consider. One of them is that they have never been given responsibility for their own selves or things they do or are expected to do, or that they have always been undermined and or being trained to believe and be educated in that by controlling others they are doing something good. These are usually the types of people who are subjected to conditions which are not truly natural from their childhood. Growing up into an adult who prefers to control others and never being able to keep all their friends, they seem to be those bound to remain alone all the time, and which leads to all that they have by nature, the state of consciousness where they feel superior towards others in every way imaginable. These type of people are usually bound to become extremely lonesome, therefore extremely unhappy. Although it cannot be necessarily considered as narcissism, but it has close links to the state of consciousness under observation. How can people of this nature be helped? How can these sorts of people discover what real happiness is? We know that freedom means true love, enabling others to do their own thing as they please, freely, and therefore lovingly. At a workplace, for instance, people who are given opportunities to excel, while others who are given no freedom to express themselves freely, are the people who usually leave the job or an assignment which is obviously unsuitable to their own quality or expertise. Others who are victimized by the so-called ignorant bosses and who truly cannot keep a good worker at any place where they are required, and you find such employment providers who themselves have driven their own kind into a form of slavery, which is a very sad statement, cannot keep a worker in place. People love their freedom. However, just consider, for instance, someone who is a bricklayer and is considered as a new starter for the rest of his employment. It happens. Would you think that this person would stay at that job, or would he or she prefer to seek other adventures and other ventures in order to be satisfied doing the job freely to the best of their qualities? There are people who are experienced in many facets of life, even to look after themselves, but forced into a situation where they cannot express themselves fully, which can be the circumstance they are in, are forced into or somewhat enduring bullying in their old age, or having their health condition being less ideal than expected, and when they are ordered to do things contrary to their wish and freedom. The question arises, would they really remain in that position or in a relationship? Friendships, communication. I guess my answer to that would be like yours. Most definitely a big no. Again, freedom equates to love, and love gives tolerance, understanding, and not eagerness in doing the things which one is not able to comprehend for the other who is experienced in doing things creatively. Therefore, being judgmentally assuming that the person is incapable of doing this or that other thing is one positive way to lose friends and friendships and relationships. Where would you like to be in this consideration? Have you heard the saying, bossy boots? Are you one of them? I certainly am not. Have you considered relationships between women and men, wherein one party wants to control the other completely? Would such friendships and relationships last, do you consider? My answer to that is going to be again like yours. Certainly not, as it can never be let to continue. Sometimes we tend to listen and never hear people speak to each other. Isn't that wonderful that she eventually found a partner who likes being controlled, and she loves controlling him? It just doesn't happen. Why then? Controlling is so important for some people, whether a woman or a man. It makes really no difference. Usually those who prefer to control others are kinds of bullies, and some racial factors might have been considered in their minds, which leads them to think that by controlling, they are teaching a civilized way of being. But are they? Think about it. There are also many people who cannot tolerate being controlled. Why is it that people are adamant in controlling others, especially in partnerships, in relationships, in medical status, when one party tries to control forcibly and bullyingly that marital partnerships or relationships are bound not to last, and only many regrets would follow? The question naturally remains how to create perfect partnership in loving togetherness and enjoying life together with one's loved ones. Many religious bodies in the East and the West, particularly considering the Western world or the Christian world, and there are many Christian cults wherein it is preferred to control their adherents. In fact, almost all religions are in the same boat, trying to control their members in every way possible. But are they successful in doing so? Or are they leading into miserable states of consciousness where ignorance remains the king? Imagine now a cult that believes in a flat earth, and everybody that doesn't belong to that belief system would be executed by having their heads chopped off. Of course, this never happens. Just imagine, and I know it sounds so awful, but some religious cults are so extreme, and in fact, that is what could be expected from some Muslim invaders in Europe who in their history forced Europeans into submission and accept their religion. Their sons and daughters have been abducted and taken to a certain sultan's place or palace for whatever reason. What did this act in history provide to humanity with? But only misery, totally against the will of the people. What kind of society has been then created? What kind of youth? There are many divorces taking place nowadays due to intolerance and wrong assumptions of each other. People divorce and hurt one another. What would be the future of humanity under the circumstances when you think about it? Obviously, not a very bright and beautiful one. So, how can we assist the world to become a happier place without such a control mechanism? Think about it. Do you have an answer? Do you control others? Are you being controlled? For what reason do you allow being controlled? Are you imprisoned against your will? You see, those controllers do not know that they are literally imprisoning their victims by bullying and controlling their lives. Where is freedom? Where indeed is love? When we try to control others, we are essentially sending the message that our way is the only way. This can only create a sentiment and resistance, causing people to become defensive or even rebellious. Think about it. On the other hand, when we use influence, we show respect for others, autonomy, and opinions. Life doesn't always go as planned. From unexpected career changes to daily frustrations, we often find ourselves trying to control the uncontrollable. But the truth is, the more we try to control everything, the more stuck we feel. What if the solution is not about control at all, but about influence? Consider. Then, why do we crave control? Perhaps we want predictability. We crave predictability because it helps us feel safe in an uncertain world. Controlling situations gives us a sense of knowing what is next, using anxiety. For example, planning your day in detail or micromanaging a project can feel comforting as it creates structure. We avoid vulnerability, and control can shield us from feeling vulnerable. Letting go or allowing things to unfold naturally can feel exposing or powerless, especially in relationships where micromanaging decisions avoids emotional risks. We fear failure. We need to control others often stems from a fear of failure. By managing every detail, we try to avoid mistakes or setbacks. But this perfectionism can create and almost always a huge amount of stress without guaranteeing success. Our past, chaotic or unpredictable life experiences, especially in childhood, can create a strong need for control later. For example, growing up in an unstable home may lead to controlling behavior as adults to create some stability. We strive for perfection. Some see control as the path to perfection, believing it will lead to flawless results at work, relationships, or personal goals. Yet this type of persuasion often leads to stress and burnout rather than satisfaction. We feel that it is all on us. The need for control often arises from the belief that if we don't manage something ourselves, no one else will. This mindset can leave us feeling overwhelmed, both at work and at home. Believe it or not. Why is influence more powerful than control? Those people who inspire through influence rather than enforce through control understand the profound role it plays in having success. Influence is about inspiring, persuading, and guiding others towards a common goal without using manipulation or force. It takes a certain level of finesse to truly understand and appreciate others' perspectives rather than imposing your own agenda onto them, which of course helps lose trust and respect from others. Influence builds trust and respect, but when we try to control others, we are essentially sending the message that our way is the right way. This can only create resentment and resistance, causing people to become defensive or rebellious, as I mentioned it right in the beginning. On the other hand, when we use influence, we show respect for others' autonomy and opinions. This builds trust and respect in relationships and encourages others to work with us rather than turn against us. Influence inspires action. Attempts to control others limit their ability to make decisions and take action. This can lead to a lack of motivation and engagement in their tasks, as people feel like they have no ownership or investment in the outcome. However, when we use influence, we inspire others to take action by presenting our ideas in a persuasive and motivating way. People are more likely to follow through on actions that they feel inspired and motivated to do. Influence creates impact. Influence is a powerful tool for creating impact and making a positive difference. When we use influence, we can help shape the opinions, behaviors, and actions of others in a way that creates alliance with our goals and values. This allows us to make a significant impact on our surroundings and about positive change. Influence fuels innovation. Influence is also a key factor in driving motivation and innovation. When we inspire and motivate others through our influence, we can spark new ideas and approaches that lead to creativity and motivation. By using our influence wisely, we can encourage those around us to think outside the box and come up with innovative solutions to problems. How to start influencing instead of controlling? That is a major question. Shifting from control to influence requires intentional effort and a view mindset. Here are 6 steps that will help you get started. 1. Identify what you can and cannot control. The first step is recognizing where your energy is most effective. Ask yourself, what am I actually able to influence here? And what is beyond my control? For example, while you cannot control how a coworker responds to feedback, you can control the clarity, tone, and timing of the feedback itself. By focusing on what you can do, you are already becoming more strategic and less stressed. 2. Get curious before taking action. Influence requires the understanding the people and situations around you instead of rushing to fix a problem or correct someone else. Ask questions like, why might they see things this way? Good question. How can I align this situation with their goals? Another good question. This curiosity builds rapport and covers opportunities to collaborate. 3. Lead by example. Actions always speak louder than words. If you want co-workers, friends, or family to follow your lead, demonstrate the behavior you would like to see. How will your team approach projects with optimism? Model that same optimism in your daily interactions. When others are consistent between your values and your actions, they will naturally be more inclined to trust and follow your lead. 4. Tap into empathy. Empathy is the secret weapon of influence. It helps you step into someone else's shoes and address their concerns in a meaningful way. Imagine your partner who is hesitant to try something new. Instead of pushing or hurting, take the time to validate their fears. I understand that this change might feel overwhelming. What worries you the most about it? From there, you can guide the conversation towards a solution rather than sparking resistance. 6. Communicate with clarity and respect. Mixed messages and aggressive demands will destroy your influence faster than almost anything else. Instead, focus on clear, direct, and respectful communication. Use I statements where possible. For example, say, I think this approach will help us meet our goals, instead of, you need to do this differently. Being clear and kind always allows for honest dialogue and keeps others engaged. This should be the 6th point. Be patient with results. Remember, influence often works slowly. Seeds take time to grow, and your efforts to inspire change or guide a situation may not pay fruit right away. Resist the urge to step in and control matters if things don't unfold as quickly as you would hoped. Trust in the process and the people you're engaging with. Sometimes the best results come from giving others the time and space to find their own solutions. the reality of it all. In the end, our ability to control or influence others is inherently limited. People will make their own choices. There's no doubt about it. Often beyond their reach of our desires or intentions. Strive to do your best, but accept that their actions are ultimately theirs to decide, not yours to dictate. Our thanks go to Patricia Flanagan for her contributions in here. Only recently I read within the pages of Psychology Today, a very wonderful magazine indeed, people who cannot control themselves trying to control others. When people cannot manipulate their own anxieties and insecurities, one partner options and the prioritizes are sacrificed or altered from the other's interests. What type of a person tries to control others? Ask that question. The behaviors can also be a symptom of several personality disorders, such as histrionic personality, borderline personality, and narcissistic personality, although hidden away. What are the signs of controlling behavior? Everyone wants a measure of control over their own lives, but controlling people also want to have a say in the lives of others. When you are on the receiving end of controlling behavior, it can make you feel embarrassed, angry, or inferior. In severe cases, which can sometimes include a pattern of behavior called also coercive control, you might face fits, intimidation, or even abuse. You need to find out how to spot the signs that someone is trying to control you. If that is the case, then you can learn practical ways to take charge of your old life. What about the signs of controlling behavior? They insist on having things their way. Controlling people often insist everyone do things their way, even when it comes to small issues that are a matter of personal choices. Your partner might insist you change your clothes if you are wearing something they don't like. They may refuse to back down even after you make it clear to them. You disagree with that, rightfully. They refuse to accept blame, directly or indirectly. No one likes to admit that they made a mistake, but people who are controlling him are incapable of admitting fault, even when their actions are clearly the issue. They will find some way to blame you for what went wrong. It may be as petty as accusing you of distracting them when they made a mistake. They need to be the center of attention, remember? If you have a victory, no matter how small, you can count on the controlling person in your life to try to stage you. They want to be in the limelight, regardless of the circumstances. They are unpredictable. That's a fact. They will keep you uncertain about what they will do next. They may swing between telling you how great you are, but insulting because you don't do what they want. The goal is to keep you guessing and be focused under their control. Would you stay in that relationship? They may even tell untruths, Controlling people want to control your reality. However, truth is the bedrock of reality. They will try to deny your reality by lying about their behavior or yours without even knowing or realizing. They may insist you are the crazy one when you try to contradict them. If you're married or living with a controlling person, they probably want to handle all of the money. They may claim that they are better at it than you are, or that you spent too much. They want to control your access to money as a way of controlling what you do or how you feel. They dictate where you can go in one of the most intrusive ways. Someone may try to control your life by controlling your movements. They may want to know where you are all the time, whether it is by threats, intimidations, or pouting. They try to isolate you from other supportive people in your life, like Magda, my once upon a time partner, and her controllers did. What is the cause of control? It's a pattern or abusive controlling behavior that can turn violent. And another name for it is intimate terrorism. Control is when someone, usually an intimate partner like a date or a current spouse, who tries to dominate your life. They may intimidate you, keep you isolated, threaten you with violence, or terrorize you with actual violence. Never forget that. The controlling person might limit your freedom and independence by, listen to this, keeping you away from family, friends, and other supportive people, or making you feel guilty when you spend time with loved ones. A trend of Jehovah's Witnesses is discovered through the years, for instance. Putting financial, social, and emotional barriers in your way that make it hard to get out of the relationship, or other tactics they may use. Making you fear for your safety, or the safety of your loved ones, or other people you know of. They might also deprive you of sleep and other basic needs by influencing you or affecting you negatively emotionally. And keep a close eye on where you go, who you see, or who you talk to, or who you talk with. Just like the mentally unstable person who traveled with me to Egypt. Question you a lot. How about yourself? Just like you do, make you question your own beliefs. Progressive control can fill you with fear even if your partner is not physically violent with you. And the terror and trauma could last after your relationship eventually ends. And mark my words, it will. Causes of controlling behavior. Several things can drive controlling behavior. The most common are anxiety disorders and personality disorders. People with anxiety disorders feel a need to control everything around them in order to feel at peace. They may not trust anyone else to handle things the way they will. Just think about it. Controlling behaviors can also be a symptom of several personality disorders, such as histrionic personality, as I said before, borderline personality, and narcissistic personality. These disorders can only be diagnosed by a licensed healthcare professional. Dealing with mild controlling behavior, sometimes controlling behavior is simply an annoying trait, but it may cross the line into abusive behavior. Once you determine its severity of the behavior, you can decide how to handle it. If the controlling behavior is mild, you can help discuss it with the offender. You can tell them how that behavior makes you feel, using statements to avoid something like, "You are blaming them." A sentence that begins with, "I feel," will likely be better received than one that starts with, "You always," and maybe a laughter that follows. You will probably also need to set clear boundaries to see a change. If your partner is isolating you from family and friends while using different tactics to wear you down so that it is easier to give in than to argue with them, you may be in an abusive relationship. If this is the case, the National Domestic Violence Hotline recommends creating a safety plan to improve your situation while maintaining your safety. The signs of danger and how to get help. You may be in an abusive relationship if your partner isolates you from family and friends and uses different tactics to wear you down so that it is easier to give in than to argue with them. I have experienced it with my former partner. Relationship violence can begin slowly, and it can be hard to spot. It can include physical or sexual violence, threats of either emotional abuse and stalking. Some signs your relationship might become violent are: your partner makes you feel afraid or disrespected, blame you for things that are not your fault, including how they treat you, forces you to do things you don't want to do, keeps doing hurtful things to you after they have promised to change their ways. If someone forces or pressures you to be sexual with them when you don't want to, for instance, that is called sexual violence. There are many other types too. Even if you are not sure whether you are in a violent and a controlling relationship, you can call the National Domestic Violence Hotline. You can also chat online with someone who is trained to help. The hotline and the chat are free, available around the clock, and you don't have to share your name. You can also set up a safety plan that helps you lower your chances of being hurt by your partner. To do this, you may need to answer some questions about yourself and your life. If you cannot do it alone, ask a friend, a loved one, or someone else you trust to help. The plan must include information about you and your life that could make you safer at home and other places you go each day. Let's talk about a toxic person. What is a toxic person? If you know someone who is difficult and creating a lot of conflict in your life, you may be dealing with a toxic person. These people can create stress and unpleasantness for you and others, not to mention emotional and physical pain. A toxic person is someone whose behavior upsets you and adds negativity to your life. It may just be their personality. But many times, people who are toxic become that way because of their upbringing or their life experiences. They do not know healthy ways to deal with their own stress, so they behave in ways that cause harm to other people. Can you diagnose a toxic person? Toxicity in people is not considered a mental disorder, but there could be underlying psychological problems that cause someone to act in toxic ways, including a personality disorder. These include narcissistic, borderline, histrionic, and antisocial personality disorders, bipolar disorder, and post-traumatic stress disorder. Here are some signs to watch out for that can indicate you are dealing with a toxic person. You feel like you are being manipulated. You are constantly confused by the person's behavior. You feel like you deserve an apology and never comes. You always have to defend yourself to this person. You never feel fully comfortable around them. You feel bad about yourself and your presence. If you experience these feelings around someone in your life, consider whether you need to take steps to change the relationship. And you might be the one controlling, and the other person might be needing to do the change. We will be talking about the toxic people by our next programs somehow. Let's end this program and this episode here. I hope we have given you enough to consider what control and influence is. Keep smiling and be happy. Thank you.